First lap here, I've always
All
wondered
right.
how
Hello,
much
everyone.
that
Thank you for
matters.
joining
You
us.
can't
Welcome
tell
back
who's
to the
got the
Hard
momentum.
Podcast, Season 2,
Mason,
Episode
for
2.
example, right now
After
top of the
first
board
race
after
the
the first
season, I'm
lap.
Stephen Borbell, the
That
driver of
means
the
he's
number
probably
2
got the
Ford
most
Mustang
momentum
from
built
Excel
up right now
Motorsports.
if he can
And
nail
I
lap
am
number
joined
2
by my
and not
usual
bobble
co-host,
that race
Carl, to
car.
my left, and we have
He's
two
got a good shot at getting the pole.
guest co-hosts for
Yeah,
today.
it sure
One
looks
you can
that way.
see to
He's
my
doing
right,
pretty
and
good.
one who you cannot see.
Off of
but
turn
is also
4
still
on
as
board with
equally
him. He's
important
really
as
not,
the rest. Sometimes.
man, he's not
Okay.
really what I would
Carl,
call
we'll start off with you. Go ahead and
making
introduce
any
yourself.
mistakes as far
Hey guys,
as
this is Carl Pooler,
line is
driver of the
concerned.
71
Car
Chevrolet
hint seems
ZL1
good,
Camaro
seems
for
okay.
Limitless Esports.
And top of the board
Carl,
right now.
and
That's
to
exactly
my
what
right
you want to
is
see.
Adam. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, he was really
Thank
quick
you.
and super smooth. That's what you
the
want out of
mysterious
your car
person
for
who
this
we do not
track.
have a name on the screen for because they don't
did
have
exactly what
a
he
camera
wanted.
on. Go ahead and reveal yourself.
Steven right there as well. Here
Hi guys,
comes
I am the
Jamie,
headless voice.
Matthew Corner,
Mason Allen,
Adam
driver
there
number
as well.
78, Limitless
So,
car.
Thank you.
again,
Mason.
qualifying here, oh
You're
so
so
important.
So-
Even
Well,
at a
thank you all
plate
for having
track,
us.
I'll
Unfortunately, we don't
argue it's
have
kind of
Richard this
important.
evening. He
You
has
get up front, you get
some
away
other
from the
things that he
chaos,
has
the
to attend
mid-pack,
to,
and
so
insanity that's it's
recruited
going to bring.
Mason and
if
Adam
you're a
to
mid-pack,
help us out
right?
here
I
tonight.
mean,
We don't have too much to cover.
if you're back there in the
just the
Hornet's
first
nest,
week of the season,
it's a good
and
way to get caught
getting
up
everything
into
back
one.
together. Adam's going to
Yeah.
give us a little sneak peek
Definitely.
for the BRB bonus brawl. A little bit more
I mean,
information there.
for me, I think
sorry to
the
throw you
way
on the
to
spot,
go
Adam. You didn't know what
is
you're
this
doing,
right
but
here.
that's what you're going to be doing eventually.
Kind of get yourself
but we'll
set
get
up
right
early and
into
then
it.
go from there.
So this past week on Tuesday, we had the
And again,
Sundance
with
Pizza
stage
250
racing, just like
at
we've
Daytona,
seen with
100 laps.
NASCAR and everything, it
Carl,
really
how was your
does
race? How did it go for
mix things up.
You know, it was everything I wanted it to be. I was really pumped for it. You know, after doing
So right
the
here,
kind of
40
season
seconds
intro
left,
on
that
Monday,
thing,
it actually
everybody's
helped.
pretty much
We
done
wanted it to be kind of like
qualifying here,
a hype session, and I was kind of debating, like, you know, will it really
what-
actually hype stuff up? And after going through it and then sleeping on it Monday, going into Tuesday, I was ready. I was so ready to go racing, and it turned out really well. Led some laps, got some stage points, finished fourth. I think it's the only way you can get better on a season opener is to win. And Steven, you took that honor.
I did. I may have made some enemies along the way, but it doesn't matter. I got the win, and it's all said and done. I know one of my enemies is the headless voice that we have here. Mason and I got into a little. I mean, it was just an incidental contact kind of thing. I don't know. It was around lap 30. Does that sound right, Mason?
Yeah, I mean there was nothing wrong with it. It was just a racing incident. We caught up to Adam really quick, and I let off the gas, and then you were kind of still on it, which is what you have to do at Daytona to make sure that we don't lose the speed we had. But it was okay. I mean, other than that, I came back up in stage 3, and then sadly 4 laps to go, a couple cars got loose in front of me, and then I had to take avoiding action and go to the apron, and then just to make it so I didn't ruin anyone else's race, I almost spun the car, but I saved it. I am an expert saver, and I'm ready for Eldora now because of it.
Well, Eldora is
That's the
several
spirit.
weeks ahead, but Adam, take us through your Daytona experience.
I had a great time. I am not a big restrictor plate racer. I know they're not restrictor plates anymore, but super speedway racer. But I had a really good time. We worked really well together. It was kind of a next level limitless race up there for a while. I know Carl and Richard and Mason were all working up there, kind of trying to control the line at one point, and then we were trying to do the same thing. I think the biggest part of our race as far as next level goes was the pit strategy. We undercut everybody and came out in a really good position. And I was in a good spot on the last lap coming through the trioval. I was on the bottom in third place. Richard Wolfeser, though, who is not with us for me to blame and be angry at, he lost some momentum. And I believe it was Johnny Wood Jr. got into the back of him. Just a bad push, and it sent Richard down the track and collected myself and a couple other drivers. But we kept it straight, and I think we brought it home in 6th. So overall, good race, great points day. I think we were 2nd and 4th in the stages, so we made up for losing those couple spots with some stage points. But I think overall the race was great. to go the entire third stage, which is the longest, without a yellow, especially with the aggression level being where it was. I mean, we were 3 wide multiple times throughout the third stage. Nobody was really taking it easy at any point because fuel savings wasn't as big of a deal this year as it was last season. And had a lot of fun, really proud of everybody overall, and I think we put on a good show.
Yeah, and you brought up the point of that last stage, 45 laps or so under green. Something I've never seen at Daytona, and can't believe that we did with, what did we end up with, 19 cars total?
19 or 20 out there, yep.
So, yeah, with that amount of cars, to not have any sort of, I mean, there was, Jared Hughes did end up spinning at some point. However, he spun it under the racing service, so we didn't end up having a caution there. But there were a lot of other instances where something could have happened. And
oh yeah, there was a couple. I know Evan Patinko went for a little bit of a ride, but he did a great job holding the car down to the bottom of the track and not coming back up into traffic. It would have been an absolute disaster because I'm pretty sure he was right behind me, right next to me, and we were up front, so that could have been big. And there were probably 20, 30 different times where it was all but a wreck, but everybody did such a great job. I was really, really impressed by how well everybody raced.
Well, and you mentioned it, Adam, there, the intensity and the aggressiveness there. I don't think I've ever felt so intense, all that aggressive action, all that aggressive racing, and there not be a caution. Like, that usually ends up in a wreck of one kind or another, and it didn't. It was just wild.
I mentioned it from the practice race that it seemed like it. I mean, I know it was a different setup than the last time that we raced there as a league, at least. And at least to me, it made it feel a little bit more stable out there on that third lane. I was out there with Jamie a couple different times and Evan, and the car just felt a little more under control. So I don't know if that helped us out a little bit. But even if it did, it takes a lot of effort on everybody's part to just be aware of where everybody is and to not make bad moves or bad blocks or bad pushes. So yeah, just a great race. I had a lot of fun.
Definitely so. It was really impressive. And I'm glad we saved it until the white flag to start wrecking. Because, I mean, that's going to happen at a super speedway. But at least when it happens on the white flag, you don't have to worry about re-racking them and going back at it. I know some people that were involved in the wreck want to re-rack it at that point and get another chance at it. But just for all intents and purposes, I think it worked out perfectly. So let me pull up if I can.
So it's funny, we mentioned the podcast we had on Monday, kind of the hype show, and we were talking how it was going to be Next Level Motorsports, possibly Maverick Motorsports, and Limitless, all 3 of our teams coming up, and it really was. I know Brendan, Dustin, they pushed really hard. They were really aggressive trying to get through the field. Adam, you mentioned Limitless and Next Level, and then Mason being a part of that. You've been around for a while, just kind of in the shadows. I know you've been going to school, so you haven't been as active, but here you are the summer, out of college for summer break. How was that race from your opinion? I know you didn't maybe get the finish that you wanted, but you did win a stage. So how does that put, Mason, this race on your scale of a good race, bad race, somewhere in between?
Oh, I wouldn't particularly say it was a bad race. I did get the pole, and I did finish stage 1 with the win, but I mean, there were multiple times during the race where it was up and down. But I would say, for me personally, it was a good understanding of how people drive in the league. I understand that there's certain people that drive more aggressive than others, and I know there's certain people that I can work with better when we go to Talladega, and I know there's some certain people I should not let push me. But other than that, I will say it was a good race for me. I mean, good points day. I don't even know where I'm at in the points. I think I'm like 8th, but I finished 11th in the race just because of an incident in the final four laps of the race in stage 3. So other than that, it was a good race for me, and I'll take that, and I will not take any hard feelings into next week and race Richmond with all I got. Watch out, Steven. Watch out, Steven.
Honestly, there was a time where I think you had gotten your lap back, and I had just wrecked or something near the end of stage 2, and I thought you were gonna try to repay me in a little way, not necessarily just wreck me kind of thing, but give a little bumper and frustration kind of thing, and you didn't. So I'll give you props for that, and I owe you one kind of thing.
I told you when we all react, I was like, it's just me and you and the end of the world.
Well, yeah,
Right.
and I know you, Mason, and that it didn't sound honest. Is all I'm gonna say.
Well, you know, I don't really want to be known as the Mason I was. Like I was really aggressive and I want to just wreck everybody and pinch you down to the line. I mean, I'm still gonna pinch you. I mean, I'm gonna be myself, but I wanna race more clean than what I was in other leagues, and I want to make sure that I don't get as many people as mad at. Wow, I don't want to get as many people mad at me as I am used to.
Well, that's a good way to start. You started back on the good foot, and it's good to have you back racing full time again. It's definitely going to add more competition and make it a lot harder for everyone each week to win. So it'll be good. But wanted to go over our race results real quick from Daytona. So I ended up getting the victory with Jamie Plord pushing behind me, and want to give a quick shout out to Jamie. Without his push there at the end, there's no way I would have gotten around Brendan. Because Carl was also closing there too, and it just worked out perfect timing wise for him to come with me, thankfully, and push me to it. It was nice getting the next level 1-2. Wish we had a 1-2-3-4, but getting Jamie a second place finish was really good in his first race with the team. Brendan Maddox coming home third, good race for him. He was very aggressive throughout. He could have gotten wrecked a couple times, but managed to get third, which was good for him. Carl, you brought it home in fourth. Very solid run. Can't complain too much about it. I saw Matthew Corder finish fifth. Very good finish from Matthew. He was closing in on you at the end there. I didn't realize how close that whole pack was coming through. And then Adam, you bring it home in sixth. I mean, hey, top 10.
Take sixth.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse.
Dustin Stallings, seventh. Johnny Wood Jr., eighth. Richard Wilson for ninth, and Gavin Rogers 10th. I have a suggestion. Should we do some sort of team points as well? Not necessarily podcast wise, but just I feel like there's more teams than we had last year, kind of deal.
We have more teams and we have more people on them. I think it would be the teams just kind of came together kind of late,
right?
So I think we didn't really have a chance to go over it. But I think it'd be cool. It would add another layer of competition.
Definitely. I feel already that there's team competition more so than anything, which is awesome. I'd love to see it.
I'm scared. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mason.
I'm scared for our team because whenever Carl and Richard are next to each other, they seem to somehow, some way wreck each other. So if we do team points, I'm gonna have to make sure that if there is any circumstance where Carl and Richard are racing, they're at least 5 lines away from each other.
And it's funny you mentioned that, Mason, because I was talking, we were talking at the end of the race how, I've been racing with Richard for quite a while now. Mason, come on. Nick wasn't able to make it. But with that race, I think that's probably the best teamwork I've been a part of in any race, anywhere. And it just felt great to have that kind of team. Oh, and look at that, that was another crazy incident. But it was,
pretty sure that was Matthew Corder.
Yeah, and again, Matthew just was able to keep his head in it, even though he had some incidents early on. He was able to keep in it and have a solid finish. But the teamwork, it was phenomenal through everyone. All the teams found their teammates, were able to work together, and I think a team, maybe just trying to keep track of team points would be fun. I know I run a league on Wednesdays, and they typically do a 4-person team, but they take the top 3. So the lowest finisher driver they drop. So it's 3 drivers, the most points, and they take that.
That's a good idea.
So we could do that because not everyone's gonna be able to show up for every race as we witnessed last week, or I should say Tuesday. So just a thought, but yeah, I think team points kind of a status would be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and
I forgot I got cleaned out in that wreck too. It was a long race.
It was a very long race. Well, actually, it was.
I swear you were.
Go ahead.
I swear you were in almost every wreck in that entire race.
I
always looked.
Coming. Every time I was in a wreck, it just came out of nowhere and hit me.
Yeah, always looked at my relative. I'm like, dang, how was he not out of the race yet? was like
Very
there's a
carefully.
spin. There's a spin. Oh, Adam's there. There's a spin. Oh wait, that's me in the wall. And then there's a spin. Oh, wait, that's Matthew Cordero.
I
Well,
still had my fast repair, which is even more impressive.
yeah, he
I never
had to
took it.
baby the car out of it, and the rear deck lid and or rear quarter panel was a little dented up the whole race for Adam, and it kind of
Yeah.
hurt us when he was leading the pack. So it did get a little frustrating at times, but it
Yeah,
ended up working out.
once we figured out it was hurting us, we swapped. I was able to push really well still, so. But yeah, being out in front was not working out with the damage. I thought for sure we'd get another yellow there in stage 3, so I was just kind of
You're
waiting
not the
for
only
it
one.
to happen, and it just never came. So
Oh, it was just one of those. I'm waiting for it, waiting for it, waiting for it.
Yep.
It's
I was a little worried with how early we were pitting that we might get caught in a bad situation. Not that we would really go a lap down, but some fluke thing would happen and it would just end
Sure.
up ruining our night. But so just some quick stats of the race. It was an hour and 33 minutes, so actually relatively short compared to what we're used to. 100 laps. We had 12 different leaders. 12 out of 19 of the drivers led a lap. 29 lead changes in 100 laps is a pretty good tick, I would say, to hit. With only 4 cautions, and 2 of those cautions were for incident, 2 were for stages. Or, well, I guess 3 were for incident, but it was also a stage caution thrown with it. But yeah, overall, very clean race. When I was going through and doing the race results afterwards, everyone in the top 11 finishing results led a lap. Well, at least 1 or more laps during the race, which was
that's a
really
cool
interesting.
statistic. That's really cool.
Yep. And just how many different people led. Of Gavin led 14. Richard led a race high 25, but only 25. Only a fourth of the race was the leader. And then another double digits. Adam, you led 10. Brendan led 16. I led 12. Carl 4. It was just so evenly spread around. It was a lot of fun. And just a good super speedway race. And I feel like we don't always get that, unfortunately, with the next gen car. It can get stagnant at times. But with this package, we saw a bunch of runs that you could generate from a while back, and you could really time stuff to benefit you instead of having to be up there and side draft somebody to hope you can get around them. You could really time some stuff up, and it made it really interesting.
man, that side draft was so strong.
It was.
I was third, fourth in a line, and if someone got right on my quarter panel, it would still slow me down. Despite being in the draft, it was just wild how strong that side draft was Tuesday night.
It was so strong that I could audibly hear my RPMs drop.
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice that?
No, yeah.
I
Oh
could
yeah,
hear
definitely.
the car slow down.
Mm-hmm. But it almost helped when you could hear that, because you hear that and you're in the draft, like, okay, someone's on my corner. You may not be able to hear him in the mirror or see him in the mirror. Your spotter may be going off, but you're like, oh, where is he? Where is he? But you drop that RPM, it's like, okay, he's on my quarter. I got to be careful. It can't go up too far because he is right on it.
Yeah, I think overall, just to highlight on what we talked about earlier and what Steven just mentioned about the number of different leaders and how many laps were led, it just shows how hard we were racing that entire race. Which goes back to, like we talked about in stage 3, the fact that we were able to race that hard and really, I mean, overall, really not have any incidents. I mean, we had a couple wrecks, but we didn't have any big ones. I don't think anybody DNF'd. I don't think so.
You are correct.
Crazy for a super speedway.
Yeah, last was only 2 laps down.
Right. So I was just
Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like I mentioned earlier, we've talked about this in the past. I know you guys have talked about it on the podcast. We're so fortunate to have the group of guys that we have. I don't know how we all ended up in the same place or what magic there was to it, but I think, I mean, if you need any more proof that you got a good group of guys you're racing with, I mean, that's pretty much all you need to look at.
Definitely. And there was maybe a 10 lap segment that we drove single file for a while in a big group. The rest of it, people were battling for position, but giving room and not, even if someone got into each other, someone was able to save it and correct it and then move on from the situation and just continue battling. It was awesome to see, and it's the kind of racing we'd like to have here. So it gets me really excited for Talladega later this year.
Yeah, I'm so glad it didn't come down to the fuel race.
Yes.
I
Oh
mean, it
yeah.
kind of. I mean, I ran out on the cooldown lap, but it wasn't. We weren't saving. You know what
No.
I mean? I
Mhm.
think the last super speedway race we ran, I think, was a fuel race. I
Mhm.
believe it ended up being one.
It usually
And
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, it's say what you will. That's a skill set and it's a type of race. But I mean, this is the most fun I had on a super speedway. I don't know if I want to say ever, but it's up there. You know what I mean? And I think that goes a long way for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely
I
sets the
definitely
tone.
want to. Oh,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I definitely want to say that the last 10 laps were by far some of my
Oh
favorite racing I've
man.
ever had in my life.
Crazy.
There was so many incidents where we could have spun the car, caused a big pile up, but everyone somehow, some way managed to save the car, especially into corners, which is I don't know even know how we did that. I think I I'm just out of words for it. It was probably some of the best racing we've ever really seen at any super speedways, and I'll say probably some of the best for the league as of so far because everyone's just so close. Everyone's fighting for that a certain position, and all of a sudden we're saving our car from not wrecking. It's like I don't understand how the broadcasters even were broadcasting it because I would have been going crazy the entire time.
No, I mean,
And
I don't know
with
what.
only
Go ahead.
19 cars.
Yep.
Like
That's
it
the
wasn't
thing.
even a full field. It was a half field essentially if you think about it with if you think about the capacity, and we only had 19 cars, quote unquote, only, and we were able to do that. That I'm excited for Richmond. I'll say that coming up Tuesday.
And I'd rather have that. We've said this and we beat this like a dead horse, but I'd
Mhm.
rather have 19, 20 guys that can drive like that than 35 yahoos that are wrecking every 2 laps and can't stand each
Mhm.
other. Um,
Not even close. Yeah,
yeah. So
I'll take that all day.
it's what we've always preached, and it's really nice to see it work out to how we've always said, kind of thing. And the product is actually there. Yes, if we can get the numbers and the product remains without degrading the product. Oh, come on, you got to be kidding me! But like for where it's at, I think we have nothing but good things to think about it. But just wanted to touch on when Mason you brought up the broadcasters don't know how they were doing their job, kind of thing. I don't remember exactly what they said. I don't know if y'all remember at the end of basically like they were lost for words. Um,
Mhm.
it's like they
The
hadn't
one
seen anything.
I think it was Matt. He said, what did he say? I don't think I've ever seen anything like that on iRacing before. Which I was
Mhm.
like, cool, man.
Well, I mean, for real, there was the Podium 500, Podium Esports throws their annual 500. It's a big cash payout and everything, and they have the heats, they have the sprints or whatever, and everything else, and the qualifiers, and that was just absolutely chaotic. And those are quote unquote some of the best iRaces you have on the service, and it was an absolute mess. But
Hmm.
us being, our regular average Joes, as it were, being able to do something like that, if I feel like it could be an example of the rest of the surface, what it can be, and not what it is, but what it can be. And I would love to be able to take this video and say, hey, this is what we have, this is what we aspire to. Take a look, come check us out, kind of thing.
And that's the best way that you can market yourself, just by
Hmm.
showing your product and being as transparent as you can. I mean, we didn't have anything to hide there. That's who we are, and we're proud of it. But and then anything else anyone want to touch on about Daytona?
I will definitely say if we had a radioactive, it would be going number one top charts on YouTube.
It would be
We
interesting.
I'm pretty sure everybody's channel had. I mean, we'd probably have to bleep a lot of stuff, but
It would be
I think
mostly
everybody
bleeps.
it'd be mostly bleeps probably. Especially, actually, I'm not even gonna say. I think we kept a pretty cool head the entire race, Carl. Don't you think?
Oh, compared to what I did last night, yes, it was definitely very cool and collected.
Well, what did Mason say when I turned him?
Actually, Mason, for being Mason, was really calm. He's like, "Well, okay, I don't know what happened there, but I'll get there again. Trust me." He was ready for it.
That
Yeah,
sounds right.
I'll definitely say I was upset, but in the moment, yeah, you're gonna be upset. You just
of course.
spun and wrecked your car. But I think when I looked it back, I was like, it's just a racing incident. That's why I didn't have any bad blood for you. And the only thing I was mad about, I forgot to uncheck my tires and my fuel, so I went a lap down. I wouldn't have gone a lap down
It's
if I
the
didn't do that.
worst, man.
Man. But I know Nick had talked about doing a radioactive and just the logistics of it and the time that it takes to come up with it. I don't have the expertise to do it efficiently enough, but I know Nick had brought it up that it might be a possibility for him to take it on at some point, so we might have to touch base with him.
It's a lot of time.
It is.
It's good. I've sat down and started one, and it's between the amount of effort it takes just to scrub through a 2 or 3 hour race and get the good clips, quote unquote, and then to sync that up with video from the race, and then to edit all that. I mean, you're talking hours and hours of work.
Yes.
It is a very tall task.
You're talking about at least an hour and a half just scrubbing through content, not even editing and things like that. So,
and the toughest part I feel like is like all of the gem comments aren't said over the race chat. They're within the team chats, Discord. And you can't really just get that that voice recording easily. You kind of have to have someone in each team channel recording it all the time, and then there's going to be some privacy concerns, and there's a lot to that.
Yeah,
that would be dangerous.
I don't know if everybody's going to be okay with having their voices recorded
exactly
constantly during a race.
So maybe we can just promote some more talking on the actual race comms.
Are you sure you want that? I will abuse the crap out of that.
I mean, that's really an Adam question at the end of the day. It doesn't offend me one way or the other, but
it's not about a offense. It's just I think it's really hard to balance more talking on through the sim and not causing problems for like Rev or for in-race communication. Like you guys know me as a person. I'm not going to be offended by anything, but it makes it hard if you open that up to just keep the communication clear. Now, if maybe we could have like a green flag rule, where if it's under green, it's a little more loose, and then as soon as that yellow comes out, everybody needs to chill. Something to think about.
Yeah.
But we'll try to put something together. I know the drivers would have fun with that, and it would make for some good content for the league too.
Most definitely. But all right, well, that will leave Daytona in the rear. Want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors of the Butt Kicker Cup Series, because without y'all, we wouldn't be able to race every Tuesday like we do, in addition to even do this podcast, because then we would have no reason to do the podcast. So big shout out to Butt Kicker, the leader in haptics, obviously Sundance Pizza, Trivista, and Ascendance Trucks. Nope, sorry. Yes. Idealease and Ascendance Trucks. I'm sorry, I'm still learning. Trivista is now Ascendance Trucks, and that's separate. In my head, it's still tough to break that up, but I will get it.
Buddy.
I will get it. Last thing before we move.
Quick, Steven.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I do want to give a shout out to Zachary King. As always, he had some internet issues.
Kidding.
And he stuck with it. Like my ping meter maxed out. But he stuck with it. He was willing to let everyone by, but still stayed in the lobbies. Didn't cause any serious issues, but still stayed in there, stuck it out, raced it out. Zach King, thank you so much for sticking it out and continuing and finishing the race with us. I really appreciate it.
I was so proud of you, dude. I think I said something at one point over the radio in our Discord. But yeah, I was really impressed that he stayed out there and raced that whole race the way he did. I wouldn't have done it. I would have.
Oh, no.
He was going through a hurricane.
Good job, Zach. Hopefully we get this internet thing cleared up. But
hopefully he doesn't need a flotation device right now, because I guess Florida's under a foot of water right now.
There's a lot.
There's 17
There's
inches.
a lot.
So I hope all those guys in Florida are doing all right now.
Rev comes in with a stat real quick. Zach had 1,487 blinks.
Holy crap! That's more than that's. Oh my god!
In an hour and 33 minutes.
That is not even close to reasonable.
That sounds miserable. But
Jeez, oh man.
Big shout out, and Richard Smith II's here with us now as well. Hello, Richard. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey,
also,
Richard.
Dustin and Jared are also here, I believe. So big shout out to y'all. Thanks for tuning in and
Thanks
supporting
for
us.
tuning in, guys.
Before we move on to looking ahead to Richmond, just want to go over the standings real quick. Let me switch over. That's the race results, and we got standings up here. So after Daytona, I'm sitting on the top with 53 points. Richard Wolsifer second, 4 points back. Adam third, 5 points back. Jamie Plord fourth, 6 points back. Then Carl Pooler fifth. Gavin Rogers sixth. Matthew Corder seventh. Mason Houseman eighth. Brendan Maddox ninth. And Johnny Wood Jr. 10th, rounding out your top 10. And just a reminder, the top 10 are the drivers that will make the chase after the next 12 races. I think I have that right. Yes, after the next 12 races. So not too much to really go into there. It's way too early to make any conclusions out of this, but just wanted to give everyone an update on that. So with that, we can go into, thank you, the race next week at Richmond. The BRB is for Lovers 250. Is that
Yes,
the right
sir.
number?
That's it.
I love the name. I love the logo. I don't have it up to share, unfortunately. But if you don't know, Richmond is obviously in Virginia, and Virginia's state slogan is "Virginia is for lovers." So I'm assuming that's where that came from, and not from any other inclination.
My inspiration, the Xfinity series actually did a race called the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 or something like that. And I saw that and I was just like, that would be super fun to do, but incorporate the league. So I took their logo and obviously put my own spin on it and changed it to BRB is for lovers, and I took the O out, made it a heart. So I was happy with it. I think it came out good.
Makes sense. Let's see, just looking through. All right, so yes, we are in Richmond next week. How many laps does anyone know off the top of their head, Adam?
I do. So it's going to be a 225 lap race. Our stages will be at lap 60 and lap 120. So 60 laps, and
Oof.
then
Jesus Christ.
So it's going to be a race.
It is going to be.
Bring it
race.
on.
So I'm excited. Richmond's a tough track. You got to keep the rears on it. That's the biggest thing that I struggle with there, especially coming out of 4. Once those rear tires get a little too hot, a little too worn, you got to really be careful getting on the throttle. I like Richmond. It's not my favorite short track, but I tend to like the flat tracks. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can take that same mojo we had at Daytona as far as the hard but clean racing and put on a show there as well. There's nothing worse than not being able to get in a rhythm at a short track. So hopefully we don't have too many yellows.
Yeah, I actually did some laps before this, for Richmond for the session you guys put up. I will definitely say for the 55 to 60, I don't remember exactly what number it was. That for the 55 to 60 lap run I did, I will definitely agree with Adam that you want to keep those rears nice and as cold as you can because you get very loose. But the one corner I will always complain about, and I will complain about it during the race, will be the exit of 2 from how it goes from banking to straight flat surface. I feel like we're going to see a lot of people get loose there, and I think it's going to make it difficult for a lot of passing on pretty much a lot of the track. It's going to be hard to pass, but I will say anyone who's on the bottom and anyone who's on the top, you're going to see a lot of coming into each other, I think, off of 2.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say off of 2 because I feel like my issue area is always off of 4 for some reason. I guess I throttle up too much because I have more room to come out, and that usually turns me around a lot during practice. Usually I clean it up by the race time, but so it'll be interesting. Tires are definitely probably our main focus. It should not come down to a fuel race by any means, just because we'll have plenty of fuel whenever we stop for after the second stage, I would think.
Yeah, we'll be fine on fuel. I think the one nice thing about Richmond, though, compared to other short tracks, is 3 and 4 is debatable, but especially through 1 and 2, there's definitely 2 usable lanes there. You can really approach turn 1 and 2 a couple different ways. You can enter real shallow into the corner and wrap your car around that bottom yellow line, or you can enter kind of high and kind of make a wide arc in, and everybody does it different. I tend to take the arc approach. It just seems to work better for me. But I'm with Steven. My place I always struggle is coming out at 4. Um, you know, 15, 20 laps into a run, you're already seeming like you have to baby it. So that's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for our guys is just self-policing tires and trying to keep it straight.
And don't try to overdrive it.
Yeah, Richmond's easy
it-
to overdrive too, man. It's
really is. They call it the
really
super
is.
speed a shoot or short track race, the short tracks really, but it's really tough and it's funny seeing you guys here, 3-4s kind of struggle. I'm with Mason on this, and turn 2 is kind of my struggle, especially if I get pinched down early. It's hard for me to arc that corner. I like to do a kind of a late apex and exit it really low. That way I don't have to worry as much about that transition between the banking of the corner and the flat of the backstretch. So again, tires are going to be just massive, and how you save and throttle out, I think, is going to be the biggest issue going into Tuesday night.
Definitely. And real quick, Richard Smith had a question: is it an evening or midday? I'm assuming it's an evening race, just because I feel like we almost always do Richmond in the evening.
It's going to be a transition race.
Okay.
So it's going to start off. It's not going to be quite a night race. It will go into the nighttime. But the majority of race will be at kind of that sunset dusk time frame. So we'll start off right
That'll be
before
interesting.
sunset, and by the end of stage 2, I would think we'll probably be heading into nighttime. That's the goal. I'm getting a lot better at the timing as far as when to set the exact start time of the race up compared to what time the sun sets at. So it'll be a transition race, not a straight up night race, but we'll get a little bit of both.
That'll get really interesting of coming into it, and most likely the track will be warmer and slicker and frustrating in the beginning, and then it will be interesting to see how the drivers can adapt to a potentially tightening track. I've never had it tight at Richmond per se, but tighter than what we started.
I think it'll be cool because the track will cool down and it's going to rubber up. I don't necessarily know if the track will get tight, but I think it's going to get tighter.
Right.
But I think it might make it a little bit easier for like kind of the struggles we were just talking about coming out of 4 and things like that. I think towards the end of the race, you'll have guys racing a little bit harder and not paying as big of a price. But that remains to be seen. You know what I mean? A cooler track doesn't necessarily mean cooler tires.
And it doesn't mean better racing all the time.
No.
We've
it
seen
does
that
not.
from
We've
Kansas.
learned that.
Yeah. But no, it'll be exciting.
I really enjoy. I kind of comment on the YouTube, but I really enjoy transition races because you have some people who can manage that right front better in the warm, the sun, and everything, and those guys do better in the beginning, and then as the track grips up a little bit, cools down. Some drivers aren't as adept at adjusting their driving line, adjusting their driver style. So sometimes as the sun goes down, the track cools down, they kind of struggle trying to find that new line. And then the drivers that really do excel in those other conditions start moving their way up too. So it just leaves a lot of strategy on the track, leaves a lot of, and with it being Richmond, you can run 3 lines there. I've seen it done. We see it all the time at IRL. So it can get very, very dicey, but it can get very, very fun as well as the transitions from, afternoon, dusk, dark. So it's going to be exciting to watch either way.
Most definitely. All right. So with that, y'all want to get into predictions for the winner for this coming week at Richmond?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, sure.
All right. Mason, let's go ahead and start off with you since you're a first-time guest on the show.
So, okay, I'm gonna go off of someone who I know has consistency and is really known for getting third a lot. I'm gonna go with Adam. I think don't smile at yourself yet. I'm about to tell you why.
No, I'm laughing about the third place comment.
Oh,
I am
mean,
in
it's
third
Hey,
place.
he finished 6th last week.
hey, but that's -3. But okay, sorry. Well, I'll continue. So I think consistency is key around Richmond for sure. I think he's known for saving his tires pretty good, and he can be aggressive when he needs to be. So I think Adam, or we could see Dustin Stallings. I think Dustin's really good around short tracks. I was watching him during the actual practice, and he was setting some really good laps down. and I think he'll be one to watch out for as well as Adam.
Well, if you got to pick one though, who are you going?
Oh,
I didn't ask for you to name multiple drivers to win. It's not a parlay.
just because I know Adam more, I'm gonna say Adam. I haven't seen Dustin race as much as Adam.
That is fair. All right, so Mason goes ahead and picks Adam. Adam, who are you picking?
I'm actually going to go with Mason's second pick, who is Dustin. That was who I had on my list. I've raced with Dustin for a long time, a couple years. We actually raced with each other before BRB, and I know that guy can rip a short track. And if I remember correctly, I can't remember if maybe we did a Richmond practice race or something along those lines, but he was super quick. And I remember at the other shorter flat tracks we raced at last year, he was always a threat because those are typically my better tracks. I do well at the gateways and tracks like that, and it seems like he's always up there fighting. I know he can put together the laps, and I know his internet connections seems better this season, so I don't think he'll have that to contend with. So if I got to pick someone, I'm picking Dustin.
Very fair. Carl, who are you looking at?
Oh, I got to flip a coin, but I think that coin's going to land on Evan Patinko. He just bad luck last week at Daytona, but again, he was up there, easily top 5 with a little bit of different outcome, different circumstances. Evan Patinko's getting quicker, and I know he's a little better on the short courses than I think myself, honestly. He can pace himself better, and I think tire strategy could be the deciding factor here. And those who can save the tire, especially in that third stage, may be able to win. I think that's why Evan has a shot.
I was not expecting that, but honestly, that's a good pick there.
It's a good pick. Evan's gotten a lot faster over the last.
Yeah.
I mean, he came in fast in the BRB. It wasn't like he was off the pace, but he's quickly become a top 5 guy every week that you have to worry about. I know I find myself racing Evan all the time. It feels like it's me, Evan, Carl, and Richard and Steven just stuck together 90% of the time. Put Dustin in there too.
There goes Mason around. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Mason.
I was just about to comment on that.
We can't see Mason, but if we could, he's crying deeply. But yeah, no, I think I like that pick. I think Evan's a solid bet for sure.
I will say I do think I know Evan more than all 3 of you guys. He was on my team last year, and I know how hard he practices. I know how dedicated he is to making sure he's fast every week. And I know last year they had a couple of rough patches and they weren't getting the results they wanted, but I know Evan was always there and he always wanted to make himself better. So I think Carl's pretty good with that pick.
Most definitely. And I'm
I'm
gonna go off of Adam, and I'm gonna agree of Dustin. Dustin is one of the short track masters that I've witnessed in my time in sim racing, especially a flat track. He excels at. It didn't matter if we were at Bristol, we went to Rockingham, and then where else did we go? But Gateway, and it just seems to fit his driving style. Phoenix too has some similarities. He's really good at saving the tires. I know specifically, I always think back to Rockingham when Adam, Gavin, and I, we felt like we did really good during the majority of the race, but then as the run went on, I felt Dustin kept coming closer and closer and closer. And especially during that last stage, I think we're going to have some long runs during the night session of this race, and I really think that's going to play to his strong suits. And I think Dustin will get the job done this week. But yeah.
I like Rev coming out and choosing Butta Bean. Butta Bean coming back for this season, the number 9 Bean Machine. So, Rev, I bet you Bean's got to be smiling ear to ear once he sees this.
I would love to see Bean win this race.
That would be great.
I would be ecstatic for him.
Most definitely would be good. But that is all I have on the docket for looking forward to next week. Is there anything else y'all would like to talk about regarding Richmond or Butt Kicker Cup Series before we get into the bonus brawl sort of deal?
You know what? I do want to give a shout out to Rev. I know I just mentioned him coming back from a medical emergency, and it's just awesome to hear him that he's back. He's getting better. It could have been so much worse than it was. A huge scare. So, absolute love for Rev and being back. He was absolutely. I don't want to be mean, but a little. Anxious about coming back, but I think it was perfect, and he did so well. So, Rev, love seeing you back, and hoping to see more and hear more from you over the season.
Yes, big shout out, Rev. Couldn't do this without you either. He is he's the one that keeps us all in check, so we need him. But with,
Well, I am
yeah.
happy that I want to say
We're good?
one thing before we I will say, Rev, we all love you. Thank you for coming back this season. Thank you for being supportive of the league forever, or not forever. You know what I mean. But I will say I will at Richmond. I will be expecting a lot of hurt feelings. I think a lot of people will be sending the car a little too deep, and we might see some people go into the wall. Might be seeing some people go in the wall together. A lot of people bumping, and a lot of Richard getting mad. But other than that, I think Richmond will be a scary track.
It'll be a good time. Looking forward to it.
Quick hello to Sam Dyer for hopping in the chat and reminding me of our most important segment. I don't know how this slipped through the cracks. Probably just because I didn't update the the script. But with that, we'll go on to the meatball of the week from Daytona. How could we have forgotten this? I'm just going to go ahead and get it started and say it's me. I wrecked Mason. I wrecked Matthew. And I was a contributor to the wreck on the white flag lap. Granted, I didn't touch anybody. I didn't directly wreck anybody. However, I scared enough people to wreck themselves, which benefited me in the end. And I'm okay with it, but I am the meatball of the week, in my opinion.
Don't want to
wants
agree.
it.
I don't want to agree, but I'm gonna have to agree with that. No, you said everything, but hey, no hard feelings. I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Mason is a little biased in this situation.
Okay,
little bit.
I'll go someone else then. I'm gonna say Brandon.
If
If you're saying
Elaborate.
if you're saying I'm biased, I'll go with Brandon. I will say, don't get me wrong. He raced really good, but I will say there were certain times that the aggression level was a little bit more than max, and I think it could have contributed to a lot of incidents. Could have resulted in some spins, and I know there was a lot of sketchy moments that he contributed to.
Okay.
It's definitely Steven, first choice.
All right, Carl, Adam, whoever wants it.
Oh man.
Yeah, Carl, you go.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome.
You know, it's hard because compared to other super speedway races that we are used to, that this is it was almost clean. Man, Brendan was called, but that's just aggressive driving. Can't get him to that. Steven, okay, you bumped a couple people. You called yourself out. Oh man, I don't. It's hard for me to say. You know what? I'm gonna have to give it to Jared just because he gave me crap for not choosing him in the top 10. So and then he ends 2 laps down. So I think my meatball of the week's gonna go to Jared this week.
2 laps down in
Wow.
last place. Come on, Jared.
You have to say the last place. Come on.
Oh, I
Give the
do.
guy some-
For Jared, I have to. I expect better out of him for that. All right, Adam, you've had enough time
No,
debating.
enough stalling at him.
And go ahead. Who were you mad at all race?
Uh-oh.
Mad at the whole race. I can't say I was mad the whole race.
Okay.
But Richard Wolfeser gets an honorary meatball of the week. I don't know what it is about Richard, but he always seems to forget where the front of my car starts and the rear of his car ends at super speedways. Not sure why. But I'm actually going to give my meatball of the week just because I know he's listening to Mr. Sam Dyer, because he cleared, I don't even remember who it was, but he wrecked somebody on lap whatever it was, 7 or 8.
I think Rev said it was 9.
9. Took a couple of us out. But honestly, I don't. It's a hard week to give a meatball of the week because everybody did such a good job. I'm just picking on Sam and Richard because I don't really have any real gripes with anybody. I wasn't even mad about this wreck here that we're looking at, or if we're not looking at it, but that early wreck, I wasn't even mad about it because I had no idea what happened. I just got hit from the side, so I don't really have anyone to pick on this week. But that would be my picks if I had to.
All right, you heard it here. So you got myself, we got Brendan, we've got Sam/Richard.
Gotta get Richard in there, man. He's not here
Of
today.
Every week, and Brendan is actually in there every week, just because he wants that award every week. Yeah, I mean, it was created for him.
He's an overachiever.
All right, so with that,
Hey, if you gotta focus to be good on something, why not, right?
yeah, maybe end of the year most meatball awards to Brendan by default.
Reach for the stars, buddy.
But with that, did we ever get a confirmation on the races for the BRB bonus brawl? Excuse me, that's a lot of B's.
We do, yeah. So I can go into this a little bit if you guys want. So
switch this
we're super excited to do this season. It's called the BRB bonus brawl. Like
See, it's hard.
It's a mouthful. And it is it's kind of a play off of the Dash for Cash that they do in the Xfinity series. If you're an older NASCAR fan, Noble 5 from back in the day, it's a little bit different than both of those, but it'll take place over the course of 3 different races throughout the season. The first one will be at Legacy, Texas. The second one will be at Iowa, and the third one will be at Chicagoland. So nice little variety of tracks there. Obviously, Legacy, Texas is its own beast. We got the short track in Iowa, and then we got a nice, racy, tight pack kind of deal at Chicagoland. So it should be fun. Basically, just to go over it real quick, is the way you become eligible for the BRB bonus brawl is pretty simple. You just got to chip in $5 extra, and you'll be added to the list of eligible drivers. And we're pretty much, I believe the entire field is going to be part of it, to be totally honest. We're already 3/4 of the way there. And I know a couple people had sent me DMs before we got on the podcast here about wanting to do it as well. So I'm just going to read this off here. It's a regular season championship style competition. Like I said, it's 3 selected races, and there's going to be points awarded to each to the top 10 finishing eligible drivers. So we have more than 10 drivers already. So let's say there's 15 drivers. The top 10, and it doesn't have to be the winner of the race or anything like that. If you're the first driver out of the eligible drivers in the finishing order, you'll get 10 points. Down second place, 9, so on and so forth, all the way down to 1. It doesn't matter where you finish in the race, like I just said. It just depends on where you're at out of the eligible drivers. At the end of the third race, the driver with the most accumulated points will win, and they will receive the entire pot of money that was chipped in via the $5 entry fee for the brawl. And there's actually about an extra $100 in there altogether. So I think the pot should be right around $150, which is exciting. So it's just something fun we're doing for our drivers to try to add another layer of competition, add another layer of entertainment for the product, and give everybody something to race for, even if they're not racing for the win out there. So all the cars will be notated by a special banner on the window, as well as a white spoiler and a white splitter. Thank you, with red stripes on it. So I'm really looking forward to it. Full credit where credit's due. This was put together by Richard Wolfeser for the most part. I mean, everybody had a little bit of input, but he definitely kind of ran with this and made it his own thing. So big shout out to him for kind of getting this put together. And a big shout out to all the drivers for participating. You know what I mean? I know not everybody is into kind of interleague competitions and extras, if you will, but I'm really happy to see everybody excited about it, and can't wait for Texas. Should be fun. That's also our patriotic theme race, so I think that's a really good way to kick it off.
Yeah, it'll definitely be very exciting. I'm so glad that we're doing something in season. Sorry, Carl, if you wanted to interject in there. But in addition to the cash prize, you'll also get obviously a banner of sorts, all expenses paid to your address. That's just something I'm throwing in there as well, for whatever graphic you want to put it up or whatever the case is. So it's just a fun thing that we can do to one, show appreciation, and just more competition, which is what we're here for.
And honestly, I'm kind of not to downplay anything, but I'm really surprised at the participation. I was expecting 8, 10 drivers, but we have 13, 15 right now.
At least 15.
That's super wild. Like, that's majority of the field. So not only are we all going to be racing for stage points and a win and everything else, we're racing for a pot of gold at the end of 3 races. So that's just going to add to the complexity and even more strategy. If you can't win the race, why not go for as many points as you can for the bonus brawl? So it is going to be a little interesting, those 3 races.
Yeah, and expect some more hurt feelings in those races of you're grabbing the steering wheel a little bit tighter in those races, really trying to push.
This just goes back to, not just the bonus brawl, but this goes back to kind of what I mentioned earlier. We're just, and I say it all the time, and I know it's corny, but I want everyone, all the drivers, to really know how much that I appreciate them, because we do. I said it earlier. We have such a good group of people here, and everybody is so involved. Whether it's in the Discord or in the events that we put on, or special events, or whatever. Obviously, like things like practice races that aren't on Tuesdays, you can't really hold people to those because they joined a Tuesday league for a reason. You know what I mean? But it truly brings me joy to just see the relationships that have been built in Discord over the last season and a half to or last season, and now going into season 2. Obviously, some of us knew each other going into this, but I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool how a group of total strangers who don't know each other at all can kind of find common ground and just get along the way we're fortunate enough to get along. And one thing about season 2 that I'm super excited for is we've mostly everybody, 80% of the field at least, we have a whole season racing together now. Last season, I think maybe 4 or 5 of us had raced, 6 maybe had raced together previously. So there was a lot of learning there about how everyone drives, who drives a certain way. And it's only going to get better the more we do it. So I just wanted to thank everybody for participating in this, and not only this, but the league as a whole. And thank all my admins too, man. You guys could not do this without you. Love you guys, man.
Love you too. I didn't know we were gonna get a little squishy here, and
I'm a squish. I'm getting old. I'm getting squishy.
You are a little squishy. I will give you that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's part of my charm.
Now I want to pay to do the brawl.
You definitely should.
Yeah,
Get in on this,
Mason, you have to pay $10.
What? Okay, fine.
Fine.
Deal with it, Mason.
Fine.
Mason's in college, man. He can't afford the extra $5.
That's fair.
Yeah, it should be free for me.
I don't know.
5 cents.
Just roll it into
5
your
cents.
FAFSA. You're fine. Just pay it back over the next 50 years. It's okay.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll be rolling is I'm gonna try to do the college series.
There you
with,
go.
Oh, there you go.
I think
There you
go.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. Wow, I am really struggling with words right now. I'm gonna try to do the college series throughout the first semester and see if I can win it. Woo! Sorry.
Well, good luck there. But that concludes all of our talking in relation to the Butt Kicker Cup Series. If there's some NASCAR information y'all want to get into, any breaking news,
have my hand raised.
Mason, you go first.
I feel like, I mean, we talked about earlier today in general. A lot of people, a lot of speculation about. I don't even know why. I don't think it's true. But people were saying that Martin Truex might want to retire, but I don't. I personally, knowing not, I almost said knowing him like I know him. I said personally, with the way he's been driving, yeah, I mean he's had some bad races, but I think I, I don't know what he would do. I don't want him to do a Carl Edwards and just leave out of nowhere. I just saw the Instagram post. That's why I said Carl Edwards. But so I don't personally, I don't think he's gonna be leaving NASCAR for even this season. Maybe next season, who knows? But this season, no.
I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe Carl could expand on this a little bit if he knows. But I'm under the impression that it's all but confirmed, and that we're expecting an announcement tomorrow. I don't think it's so much speculation as it is. It's kind of the same way that a lot of this NASCAR stuff has been lately, as far as confirmed without being confirmed. I think we're going to get an announcement tomorrow about MTJ retiring. I might be in the minority here, and I'm a Truex fan, not a diehard, but I like him as a driver. But I think it's time. He's, say what you will about last season in the regular season, he had that hot streak. But I think if he picks, he's obviously not enjoying himself, because the Martin Truex Jr. we've seen the last 14 months, 16 months, not the same Martin Truex Jr. we saw 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago. So I think it's time, man. I mean, if he's not enjoying it, which it doesn't seem like he is, and he's not finding the results that he's accustomed to getting, and that we know that equipment can get. We're seeing other drivers in that equipment, perform better for the most part. Well, not for the most part. I mean, in general, performing better. I think if he's ready to do it, he should do it. I think it opens up a whole bunch of questions about what happens after, though. I think that's what's really interesting. I mean, I'm hearing rumors that Kyle Busch could get released a year early from Childress and go back to Gibbs.
I think those are a little far-fetched.
I think so too.
But
I think so too.
It's interesting.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna mention. I know Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck talked about it a little bit today, and if y'all know them, Chase Briscoe appears to be the front runner.
Yeah.
For the position, which is a little interesting to me. It's got to feel great for him coming from what he is at in SHR to going to JGR. Would be really cool to see. Richard Smith saying Corey Heim to the 19. I don't know if I can get behind that, because I know there's been a lot of talk about 2311 getting a third charter and Corey Heim being the front runner for them, which either way, that would be a good fit naturally. I think Corey's ready to take the next step. But back to Martin, y'all said it, like his best time is behind him, unfortunately. I've never really been a fan of watching him, kind of thing, so I can't really relate. Carl, I'm sure you have a lot more feelings about it, and I'd love to hear what you think about it.
So, seeing his struggles the past couple years, I'm actually surprised he didn't retire after Cole Pern left.
Yeah.
Because they had great chemistry. These last 2 or 3 years with James Small has been very painful to watch. I don't know if it's been intentional or if James is just trying to make a name for himself, but just mistake after mistake, call after call. There easily in the last 2 or 3 seasons, there should have been 5, 6 races he should have won.
I mean, it seems like it's every week.
It's just terrible.
Every week something goes wrong for him that based off strategy or maybe not an inherently bad strategy, but one that just puts him in an awful position. Like
exactly.
I 100% agree with that.
Well, and I don't even think it's an equipment issue. So if you don't know, I live in Colorado, and I was lucky enough to tour the Furniture Racing shop in Denver. Okay. And to put it into perspective, you see HMS, you see Penske, you see RCR, Joe Gibbs. They have these massive shops, signs everywhere. You can tour, and they have just thousands and thousands of square feet of material and product and everything else. This little shop that they had was on I-70, smushed between a Purina or Pedigree dog food plant and the Suncor oil refinery.
Oh, the cheap land
smashed
area.
in there. Smashed area. Like there's one itty bitty sign in the very front of the building that I passed 3 times looking to tour this shop that said Furniture Racing. I toured that shop, and the fact that they won a championship with that blew my mind. I had no idea. And then on personal reasons, Ashley, my wife, was a huge fan of Sherry Pollock's before she passed. And they didn't make it as big as it could have been, but they separated, and then she passed. I think that had a lot of mental strain on Martin himself. I think there was more there emotionally than they even tried to portray. I think they were really, really, really close. And the only reason they broke up is Sherry was in remission or relapsed and eventually passed, and Sherry didn't want to distract Martin from going for another championship.
I don't think people give that situation enough weight.
Oh no.
I know that the media and things like that did talk about it. But as someone who's dealt with that in their family, and as we all have, I'm sure, you can't understate the impact that has on not just the person who's ill, but everybody around them. And then for obviously for her to pass when she did, I agree with Carl. I think between the James Small departing, or I'm sorry, Cole Pearn departure, and then Sherry, I just hope he doesn't go the way of Carl Edwards, because I loved Carl Edwards, and I was disappointed, and I'm very happy that we're starting to see him around a little bit more. But I think Truex has a lot to offer to the sport from whatever role he decides to put himself in, if any. I just hope we see him around if all this pans out.
Well, and it's going to be interesting because you see drivers. I mean, even Dale Earnhardt Jr. is running JRM in Xfinity. You have Kyle Busch still running some trucks on Xfinity. Really, the last time you saw Martin Truex kind of step down in a lower league was last year, 2 years ago at the Bristol Dirt in the trucks, and won it. But other than that, you don't really hear about that. And Martin, personality-wise, he's usually most of the time the quiet-spoken driver. Not too much to say unless he gets roughed up by Joey Logano or stuff like that. So yes, it would be nice to have him stay, but I think the emotional can't think of the word, tumultuousness of the season, the turbulence, the emotional turbulence of the last 2-3 seasons. I think he just may be tired, and we all know the reason he's sponsored by Bass Pro Shops. He's an outdoors guy. He loves to go fishing, loves to go boating and everything like that. I can totally see him retiring somewhere on the East Coast, North Carolina, Virginia, something like that, and just chilling.
No,
yeah.
It would be unfortunate, but I can see it.
I definitely see that more so than him sticking around in any capacity, unfortunately. And granted, I don't know him as a person, but from everything I hear and anything that Dale Jr. says about his relationship with Martin Truex, I mean, he knows him as well as almost anyone else, it appears. And I can definitely see Martin just getting a big plot of land somewhere, maybe not even big, but just a comfortable plot of land and setting up, fishing, hanging outside all the time, and not really worrying about NASCAR. I mean, you have some of the, I don't want to say legends, but some drivers from like our childhoods of, you look at Sterling Marlin, you look at Ward Burton, like they're not in the spotlight necessarily anymore, for one reason or another. They're just off living their lives. They're away from racing now, and they want to enjoy life, kind of thing. And I can see Martin doing that.
One thing that you just mentioned that's to kind of veer off where we're at right now, but the Bass Pro sponsorship. So here's my theory. I think Noah Gregson is a real possibility to end up in that race car. Bass Pro is it may be, I don't know for sure, but I think it may be probably one of, if not the biggest third-party sponsors in the series. I'm excluding things like HendrickCars.com, things like that, as far as just from an investment standpoint. Monster, obviously, they're bigger. But Bass Pro, Bass Pro puts a lot of money into the sport, and if that 19 car does become available, it's already got Bass Pro on the car. Noah has obviously a very good relationship with those sponsors. And honestly, I'm impressed with Noah this season. I think he has consistently outperformed expectations, especially given how the rest of the team is running and things like that. And to be honest, he's probably cheaper than Chase Briscoe. And I think we learned last season that Joe Gibbs is pinching pennies based on the Kyle Busch, well, 2 seasons ago, sorry, based on all the Kyle Busch stuff that happened and things like that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited silly season's going to be nuts this year. Between this announcement, between the SHR autopsy, I mean, it's going to be nuts. And I think we have a couple drivers who have either option years this year or contracts are up. So I think it's going to be interesting to kind of follow this and see how it goes. But either way, I hope Martin ends up happy. That's all that really matters.
Go ahead, Mason, before.
So this is a really big state. Like, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but if you want to go for cheap and you want to go for young, I know he might not have like the sponsor backing, and he's a rookie this year. But I wanted to, it's going to sound bad, and you guys are going to disagree with me heavily on this, but I wanted to say Carson Hocevar. I think for how young he is and for his first year, I think, and the equipment he's given, I think he does very well with the equipment he's given. And I can see all of your guys' faces right now. You guys are all looking up in the sky trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. But I just think maybe that's a really big statement, but whoever does move, maybe he'll get. I guess Stewart's team's gone after this season, but I want to say him, but I think it's a long shot.
Well, that's not a terrible guess though, because Carson Hocevar does have talent. He's won in the Truck Series. I don't know if he's won in the Xfinity Series yet, but I think the most important thing is he's a personality, and he's a young personality.
No, he went
I
straight
think
to
you're.
Cup.
Yeah, that's right. He went
straight
from
to Cup.
truck straight to Cup. But I think he's a personality. Remember when he broke his leg last year, or fractured his leg, and they were at, I don't know. I can't remember if it was Sonoma or whatever. And he was out there with this cowboy hat on crutches, still trying to race. He's a personality, and from what I understand, he's a very fan-oriented driver. So at the very bare minimum, he could bring you sponsorship deals, just being that open driver, being there to and for the fans. So that's not far-fetched.
No,
and he's cheaper.
Well,
I mean, he's
cheaper
cheaper.
is a relative term, I guess, when it comes to driver salary, just because like a lot of what has to do is their financial backing and sponsorship backing, unfortunately, in the world that we live in now. And I don't know I know Gainbridge is a big Spire partner. I don't know if they have a relationship with Carson specifically, other than...
They did. He raced it with the trucks all the time.
Okay. So, but that was also Inspire.
Yeah, I don't think he has...
Oh, shoot.
I don't know if the relationship's with him or if it's real. I really think it's more so with the Spire
I think
end.
it is too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But, so, like, that's one concern with that situation. A whole nother concern comes from the Chevy camp. I don't think Chevy wants to let go of Carson, because he's still a very raw talent, but he has a lot of talent. I wanted to go back to Adam, what you were saying about Noah. Are you basically saying you could see Noah take over the JGR ride? Or I even heard this theory yesterday. It goes back to the Kyle Busch situation of Kyle Busch comes out of his contract at RCR. He goes back to Joe Gibbs for whatever reason, and then Noah goes to RCR, and then Bass Pro Shop, who already has a relationship with RCR and Austin Dillon, then they have the full relationship.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them are super likely. My original train of thought was just Joe Gibbs shopping for someone who has backing, who is available, and who has talent, obviously. And Noah kind of checked all those boxes. The Bass Pro relationship from the 19 car to Noah is kind of what got my gears turning about that. But what you just said, I mean, I think if in an alternate universe or in our universe it somehow happens, if Kyle Busch leaves RCR one way or the other, whether that's because he said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, if he ends up back at Joe Gibbs through an amazing chain of events or whatever, that's also a viable option. I think the biggest hurdle for Noah to go to JGR, I think, would be the Toyota.
Going back to
factor of
Toyota,
that.
yeah. How do they feel?
Well, I don't think Toyota's real high on Noah Gregson, if I remember correctly. I think when he had his issues, I can't remember if Toyota had made a statement for some reason, or maybe I'm misremembering something.
That might have been that Xfinity race at Road America with that intentional wreck.
I know
last
there's
year,
some,
2 years ago.
There was that, and
I know
when he got
there's something
suspended.
with Toyota and Noah.
Yes,
Because it was the same issue. I believe part of Legacy let Noah go because of the incident. But I don't think Toyota was excited to have him over there. And I think it was just an easy out. But the list of options is endless. I think all of the Stewart-Haas drivers will end up somewhere, except for Ryan Preece. I think Ryan Preece goes away, which I feel for him, that he's had his opportunities over the course of his career, and it just hasn't happened. You know what I mean?
well,
There's just
what
too
about
much
Josh
talent
Berry
knocking on the
though?
door.
Like
I
Josh
think,
Perry
I think
had
Josh will
some
land on it. I think he'll land somewhere. I don't know if it will
In a
be
low budget team.
a good place.
I mean,
But I
Lightning
think he'll
struck in
land.
the Xfinity Series, but with the Cup Series, it's hard to say, especially with Stewart-Haas these past 2 years. It's been kind of a rolling dumpster fire with a huge lack of any kind of results. So it's hard to really judge any of those drivers right now with the state that SHR is in or was in. So
I think I think the only two you can
have a-
really judge are Briscoe and Noah, because
Mhm.
But
they have
can you
both.
judge Noah? I mean, he's tale of
think-
2 seasons.
I think
is
to
true.
a point, you know what I mean? I think Noah did a lot of work on himself, and I want to clarify because I sound like I'm high on Noah Gregson. I'm actually not like a giant Noah Gregson fan, but I think there's a big difference between the guy racing this season and the guy racing last season. I don't know what, I think that whole experience he had getting suspended and then fired, and the things that happened behind the scenes with all that as well. I remember hearing at the beginning of this season, they kept talking about how he kept saying, he was his own worst enemy, and his just things like his diet and his mental health and things like that were all really, really bad last season, and he took that time to work on all that. And that makes a big difference, man. I mean, we all know the guy can drive a race car. So I think Noah has outperformed expectations this season, and I think Briscoe has always made the best out of the situation he's in over there. But I don't know about Barry, man. I like Josh, but I don't know. I don't know who. I think having Junior's backing is gonna. I think that's gonna help him, which is why I say I think he'll probably end up somewhere. I think between relationships alone, he'll land somewhere. But
I mean,
I guess
worst case
we'll see.
scenario, he goes back to Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, right. Which is worst case scenario. you
Yeah,
know
it's
what I
a
mean?
pretty good
Poor
worst
guy,
case scenario.
Well, look at
Um,
Cole Custer. He did that, and he's found his success again for the most part.
They're
So-
talking
and
about
now he's
Cole
out of a
coming
job.
back up now.
I
Now they're
Yeah.
I'm hearing rumors about Custer coming back up into Cup through
wait,
Well, I have a
one of
question
these
too.
charter openings. So
I have a question. Does Alex Bowman have a seat for like
Yes.
not, but like it is okay. I didn't know if they renewed it
Yeah, he
or if
re-signed.
they.
Yeah, they re-signed what earlier this year for 3 years or
Yeah,
last year,
Okay.
something like that.
he
I
has.
wasn't too sure because I was gonna say if because like I know Bowman, he's good, but for the equipment he's given and the driver, I mean, don't get me wrong, like you see him a lot up there, but you just don't hear his name a lot.
No,
Like
and
for
he's a boring
yeah,
personality.
Yeah, he is.
He's a honestly, I think he can be more boring than Chase at times. They're different, but in front of the media they are similar. But he has just tremendous financial backing from Ally.
I was
And
just gonna say
Ally
he's got Ally.
loves him.
Yep.
It fits their brand image and perfectly. So he doesn't have to worry about anything.
do you
None of
think
the Hendrick guys are going anywhere
do you think
anytime soon.
Keselowski do you think Keselowski's team will add another charter,
I would
or do
love
you
them
think
to.
they're stuck? Because
I don't think
I
they
will
will.
say okay, I will say they are for Ford, right? Yes, they are Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, for a lot of the drivers that are coming from Tony Stewart's team, I feel like, I mean, they're already at the Ford. They're already in Ford. And I mean, if they did add another charter, I don't know who would go there or a Ford, but I feel like I
Here you go,
I will agree
tinfoil
with you,
hat.
Adam. I think Ryan Preece. I think Ryan Preece will be gone at the end of this season. I think he'll go back to doing what he did before he came back. But I just don't know about Josh Berry leaving. I feel like for what he has done, I mean, yeah, the results haven't been there all the time, but I feel like I don't see him leaving soon. I feel like a lot of people understand his backstory, and I feel like a lot of people don't want to see him go.
I
Yeah, but lots of people liked Matt
Yeah.
DiBenedetto and his backstory too, and look what happened with that.
He
Now,
has no
I
right
know that's
anywhere.
not the exact same
Yeah,
situation.
I guess
think,
that's
from what I understand, Matty D does not seem. I think it seems like he's burned down every sponsorship bridge the guy's ever had, based
Yeah.
on what I understand. I don't think RFK buys another charter right now. I
Yeah,
think they're.
Rev, our NASCAR insider, saying they won't. They have said as much in the not foreseeable future, which I can agree with because
Yeah, I'm with
they're a
that.
two-car team. They're focusing. They're actually finding a modicum of success with those two drivers, BK and Chris Buescher. So I can see that. And again, I hate to bring it up again, but Furniture Row Motorsports as a single-car team, those last 2 seasons or 3 seasons they were there were dominant. They added one car and everything fell apart. Now you can blame the health concerns of the owner there and all that stuff, but yeah, the moment they added one more car, everything started to fall apart there. So
Okay.
I think
Sorry.
Brad K and Roush are combining on this and have the same opinions. Like, hey, let's focus our not so considerate resources on two cars rather than risk on a third car and all three of them do poorly than what we're doing now. So I think that's a good move for RFK.
Yeah, they just got that organization back into some semblance of what older fans
In the
are
conversation.
are used to hearing when you hear the name Roush. You know what I mean? I think they stick with the two-car team, and I think that's the best move they can do. They're having success, man. Brad and Buescher both are in the top 5 every single week. Every single
They're
week they're
lights
there.
out.
I mean,
One or
might-
the other.
one or the other. And I think there's a statistic. I think I just heard it, excluding Sonoma now, but I think the last 6 weeks, an RFK car has finished in the top 5.
I believe it.
So I don't know.
Well,
but
let's-
silly
They're
season's
easy
pretty
to cheer
far
for.
away. Lots can happen.
I think
talk
Adam
about it all
remembers
night,
this. Do you
so.
remember in the late 2000s or the early 2010s where the whole thing was a Roush Mustang and a Roush Supercharger and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
You don't hear that anymore.
Oh no.
So Roush is kind of fallen onto the wayside. So this is an opportunity to get back into Ford's good graces and get that name back out there. And I think they're smart enough business wise to maintain that and focus on that goal.
So
Yeah, I
Now-
agree. I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see him keep it up.
Sorry,
With-
Steven, you can go.
with the charters going away of the Stewart Haas charters, 4 charters, You would think Ford doesn't want to lose any more cars on the field or in the field. Front row got one, and that's all but confirmed from what I understand. So where are we thinking those other three go?
Toyota.
I think one goes to 2311.
Makes sense. And then one
I
to
think
Trackhouse.
one will
Actually,
go to
maybe
Trackhouse,
Legacy.
and I think one might go to Spire.
Because let's look at it. Ford and Mustang have like what 65-70% of the field. Or Ford, I'm sorry, Ford and Chevy have 60.
But Chevy has more than Ford.
I don't think
But-
Ford cares about the charters, to be totally honest. I don't think they care.
And if you consider the manufacturer side of things, Toyota has the smallest field out of them all. They have what, 8 cars, 9
Yeah,
maybe?
it's insane.
I don't even know if it's
Insane
nine.
compared to the other numbers, yeah.
Because they have 2 at 2311,
Or
4 at
two,
JGR,
8
2
now.
at
Used to be 6.
so that's 8.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think this may be Toyota's opportunity to say, hey, let's stake our brand in here. Let's get a larger stake of NASCAR and see what we can do. Because, I mean, we raced we raced Daytona, and in IRL, they're always talking about really Ford versus Chevy in terms of manufacturer teammates, and the Toyota just kind of sit there. Who's going to go where and where are we at? With a couple extra charters, Toyota actually has a little bit more weight. So I think Toyota may make a jump on some of these charters.
I think at the end of the day, too, one thing we have to remember is Ford isn't paying the bills for these. It's going to be whoever gives Tony Stewart and Gene Haas the most amount of money.
Yeah.
So I don't think Ford's going to reach in their own pocket and help any of these existing teams acquire one of these. My bet is definitely 2311. We said front row.
I think Trackhouse has to get one because
they have to.
They're
Yeah,
filled.
they have like 4 drivers.
Yeah,
4 or
and then
5
they'd only
drivers.
have 3 charters if they get one. If not, they're
Right.
screwed.
So yeah, Trackhouse. My guess is Trackhouse, Spire, front row, and 2311.
Or sorry. So Spire. So you're saying Spire to become a 3-car team?
I know they have an alliance with.
HMS, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know why I just did that. Yeah, I know they have the alliance with HMS, and I know they have some financial backing there too. That's just, I don't know where else it makes sense to put it. I mean, I don't think RFK is going to do it. Colleague, I mean, to piggyback on what Carl said about adding a team, like think about what happened to Colleague. Like Colleague Racing was this. I mean, they were doing everything right, and then they got that. I believe they got the extra car and really moved into Cup, and it all fell apart.
Colleague switching to Ford.
They can't even compete in Xfinity now, hardly. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting though. Silly season is. It's so early to even be talking about all this, but
well, silly season
be
always
extra
starts around this
silly.
time.
I feel like it's super intense this year. I can't remember a season with this many moving pieces this early.
I mean, a bigger thing that I know Adam's gonna love is Kyle Larson getting his waiver. I think a lot of people are happy about that. He finally got his waiver. I mean, it's a deserved waiver. I mean, the guy was at the track. NASCAR just canceled the race.
I never want to hear the word waiver again, and I'm banning it from the Discord. I'm so sick of talking about it.
We can bleep it out.
I can't believe that it was ever even a discussion.
That was damage control by NASCAR. I can't.
I know
like Adam said, exactly. It should have never been a question. Honestly, Chase Elliott, the way he's doing, Kyle Larson actually may become NASCAR's favorite driver this year, most popular driver.
I've been saying it for 2 years. Julie and I, my wife and I, we go to a lot of races. Went to 5 last year. I think we're going to 5 this year. And there is, I would venture to say there are more Kyle Larson shirts now than there are Chase Elliott shirts.
I would have said that 2 years ago too, honestly.
I was going to say last season, 50-50, maybe depending on the track and things like that. But every race we go to, I consistently see Larson gear the most. And if you go to the trailers, there are just as many, if not more, people in line at the HMS trailer because HMS has theirs and then Chase Elliott has his own trailer, as there are people at Chase's. You can't argue with it either. I mean, obviously, you see the helmet in the background. I'm a diehard Larson fan. I don't know how you don't root for the guy, man. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, just as a racing feat,
so.
you can't fault the guy for wanting to do the 1,100 miles, the duel. Like that alone, just in physically speaking, in the talent speaking, only a handful of people have ever attempted it. And so you can't just fault the guy for wanting.
It was crazy.
Exactly.
It was crazy. The amount of publicity the both sports got.
Well, you had Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, in Indianapolis, watching that race instead of being on the box at Monaco. That speaks volumes to me.
Real quick, I don't know if there's anything else on the docket to talk about, but one thing we didn't mention as far as news, IndyCar going to Fox. Full season next season.
Hear that.
It's official. They will be broadcasting the entire season, and all of the races will actually be on normal Fox, so you don't need cable to watch it. So that is a big deal. I know Fox just recently let go like the majority of their motorsports oriented staff. I mean, all the guys that were left over from like Speed and all that stuff. I think they've all been let go as of the end of Fox's run this year. But I know IndyCar's broadcast is actually done in-house. So I'm assuming that Fox is going to take advantage of that, one, by not having to pay people and have their own people do it. But IndyCar's broadcasts are done by their own people. I think it's just going to be broadcasted on Fox. I just hope, because Fox threw them a lot of money. And I don't think there's an argument, at least in present day, that NBC has a better product than Fox does as far as racing coverage. So I just hope it doesn't suffer. So.
Well, I will say this, and I'm really disappointed in Fox taking it because of this one thing. Now, I do pay extra, and I watch Peacock, okay, but for IndyCar and IMSA and stuff like that. But, and Fox better not mess this up, but when I sign up and I go to Peacock and I go to the Rolex 24, I can watch all 24 hours uninterrupted, no commercials.
Yep.
Now, that is the standard Fox needs to kind of adhere to if they want to take over IndyCar. Yes, it's not IMSA. They don't have the endurance races. But that's what NBC does. And I actually I got into watching IndyCar because of NBC. James Hinchcliffe and all those other guys up there, I love their broadcast. So Fox is playing with fire right now.
It's going to be... there's no way Fox is going no commercials. That's a guarantee. I think the easiest comparison to draw is look at NBC's Indy 500 broadcast, and then look at Fox's Daytona 500 broadcast, and that tells you all you need to know about which one of these networks is taking the sport they're broadcasting seriously and showing it the respect that it deserves. Well, and I'm not talking about the guys in the booth and things like that. Like I actually think Harvick, Boyer, and Joy did a good job this season. I think Boyer was less annoying. I think Harvick had really good insight, and Mike Joy's just a timeless legend. So,
I mean, if you have all of the IndyCar races on main Fox, though, I think if you have all the IndyCar races on main Fox and not Fox Sports 1, I think that's a really big driver for IndyCar.
Absolutely.
For giving exposure.
100%.
I mean, I don't watch a lot of IndyCar. Yeah, I watch the Indy 500 every year usually, but that's usually about it. If nothing else is on, I might throw it on. But I feel like typically it's on, when it was on NBC, it was on NBCSN at the time, or whatever, USA, their alternate channel, their cable channels, which makes it very difficult for new people to want to watch it, which could really help them, no matter how bad the broadcast quality is, not just people in the booth, but the amount of commercials and the annoyingness of the broadcast at least gets people's eyes on IndyCar.
Yeah, no, I
Well,
100% agree.
This also goes into effect when just a couple of weeks ago that NASCAR announced that they're going to do similar what the NFL did is, oh, you're going to have some races on Fox, you're going to have some races on YouTube TV, you're going to have some races on uh, I lost track. YouTube, Prime, and stuff like that. And NFL did it, and it did not work. Like Thursday night games, if they were, I'm not subscribing to Amazon Prime because of a football game. It's not
Oh,
happening.
I will say
And I'm not
Thursday night
gonna.
games are bigger now than they ever were because of Prime.
And that's crazy because from what I understand, there was less viewership, and
This
so
season, once the consumer adapted now, and the
Yes.
big part of that was the NFL coming in and forcing people to adapt. Whether you like it or not, the NFL is that big where they can change the whole industry of sports by just one little thing like that.
I think NASCAR is doing the right thing by getting in. I was against it initially because NASCAR fans hate change, but I think they're making the right move by getting into streaming now because I don't know the statistics, but I'm willing to bet if it's not more people, just as many people have Amazon Prime that pay for a premium cable subscription.
Oh, yeah.
you know what? You got me there because now that I'm thinking about it, in racing news, the Le Mans 24 is this weekend, and I remember last year I actually spent $5 for a month to watch it on Motorsports TV or Motor Trend, whatever, to just watch the
I did
24.
the same thing. Yep.
And then they transitioned to Max, which I'm lucky I already had because I'm a Game of Thrones fan. But
Love
so
But like
so
the
but now
cable
that they're on
subscriptions
Max,
are just so
it's
expensive.
it really is, and it's not just the subscriptions. But let's think, okay, $10-15 here, $10-15 there. But if you have 4 or 5 of them, that's $45-$60 a month, and it's like I might as well get a cable box.
But like with the streaming platforms and the different streaming platforms, I'm not talking about YouTube TV. I'm not talking about Hulu TV. Those are internet cable in my
Yeah,
head. It's not
internet cable,
streaming
that's exactly
services. I'm thinking of your normal Netflix, your normal Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, etc. Like you can really pick and choose what you want, and you can make something that fits your needs and your watching for the same price or less than cable, and it's more convenient for the most part. Of you have all these shows on demand at your fingertips, and if you can get that live sport element into it, it makes it that much better. Me and my buddy right now are trying to since I moved, I don't have cable anymore, so I've been trying out these free trials on these internet cables providers, and none of them worked for me because they're so expensive. They're $70 plus $80 a month, and it's just not worth it for me to watch. This time of year, the only thing I'm watching on cable was either the NHL playoffs, but those are over for me, unfortunately, and then NASCAR. Other than that, I am watching Hulu or whatever. There is this new sports streaming platform service coming out, planned to
Venue,
come out.
right?
I think it's called Venue, and they're
It's Venue.
they're
Yep.
trying to figure
know.
out the pricing point on it.
Expensive. I don't know.
Well,
what it is.
it's rumored around
They're gonna
$30 to
gouge it.
$40, $30 to $40 a month, and this could cover all of your sports channels. You're looking at your Fox Sports, your USA, your etc. And then yes, if Amazon Prime, that's separate, so it's a little bit extra, but it at least makes it feasible for the consumer.
For those of you that don't know what Steve and I are talking about, Venue, like he just mentioned, is an upcoming platform, streaming platform, and I believe it's Fox, NBC, ESPN.
Yep.
I know I'm forgetting
I'll
a couple.
pull it
It's
up while
all
you
of
keep
them.
talking about it.
All of the major networks, all of them, from what I understand, are going to put all of their live sports on one platform for one price per month. That's what we're talking about right now.
Yes. So-
Not a sponsorship.
No, but
I
I
have
mean,
YouTube
we're open
TV.
to it.
So
Um,
I do love YouTube TV.
It's Disney
pay
slash
them money
ESPN, Fox, and Warner Bros. For this fall 2024, 14 network TV networks: ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network, ACC Network. I mean, college fans out there, that's big for them. ESPN News, ABC, Fox, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, TNT, TBS, True TV. Like, these are your main sports channels. For its own package, you don't have to get your base cable for $60 a month and then add your sports channels. You can just get your sports channels and be done. I know this is not a big topic for everyone, but this has been so heated for me to figure out. It's been a pain.
Well,
Well,
and
maybe Venue
being
will
a
answer this.
motorsports fan, like, okay, the last 2 or 3 years, I have just been absorbed. I've always loved cars, always loved racing, but the last 2 or 3 years, the wife has actually wanted to strangle me because I am in it. F1, IndyCar, IMSA, WEC, NASCAR, you name it, I want to watch because I want to watch man versus machine versus nature all together, and I love it. I absolutely love it. NHRA is hard for me to get into. I've even gone to the Mile High Nationals. NHRA is kind of like golf for me of the racing world, but
That's a good comparison.
it's hard. Yeah, exactly. But it's hard for me to say, hey, go all these other, because ABC owns ESPN, all that stuff. Fox owns Disney and all that stuff. So
They do.
you have to, yes, Fox owns
This
Disney.
is old
No
news.
wonder
So
why I
you
went
have
to. No wonder why I went to crap.
So you have to wonder, okay, yes, you're going to separate this, but if you're only into motorsports, okay. But unfortunately, I have a wife and a baby on the way and everything else going on, so there's no reason for me to separate and go into a separate motorsports streaming service when my 2 or 3 other streaming services that equal that, I already have it. So that's going to be hard for them to do, in my opinion.
I guess we'll see.
I don't know. I'm excited, but I don't want to beat a dead horse over it.
Exactly.
You guys-
we
you
don't
guys
make
really-
neither of us make enough money to really
not.
change anything.
I got really quiet because I had no idea what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, sorry, it's
I
just
just was
old,
like-
old people yelling at.
We're just yelling.
Back
at
in
Electronics.
my
You know,
day!
Yeah.
my ears perked up a couple times when you said IndyCar and F1, and I was like, "Ooh, those are my series." But then you guys went back into like the logistics of stuff, and I went back to
Sorry.
my game.
That's adults being
Mason's
adults.
like they're talking about paying bills and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about
I
that.
pay bills. I don't want to hear it. I hit
That's
a deer
what I
here
said when I was
recently,
in
and
college too.
I
Not
hit-
the case.
I hit a deer here recently, and I had to pay the deductible on it. That was expensive.
That's not bills.
That's not bills at all.
It seemed like bills because I had to pay
It
$1,000.
seemed like bills.
A grand, dude. Who
That's
is
a
your
high
insurance
deductible.
company? Give me their number.
Well, it was 500, but we recently went up on it like 2 weeks ago, and I was like,
Oh,
are you kidding me?
jeez.
Adult lesson for you.
Like
Going up on your deductible saves you on your monthly premiums. But
It is.
Wait, no, trust me, it's going to. But now it's like that deer could have hit me like
either way,
2 weeks earlier.
you're always going to
I
pay
guess
your
I could-
insurance company more money than you ever get from them. There's a reason they're in business.
Yep.
That's literally the business model.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
You know,
we're-
that's
we're
why
getting a
I'm
little off the
going to
rails
be an
here
orthodontist.
since we're- Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we are.
With all the adult talk, but we can go ahead and wrap it up there. Leave it there. I think that was good.
talking adult.
Say that again.
I was talking adult there for a second. I was
talking
crazy
adult,
for me.
and I know if you're talking adult, that means it's time for bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
We've
gone too
reached
far
our
off
quota.
the edge here.
Right before we go, real quick, NASCAR at Iowa this weekend. Who's your winner?
Oh,
Oh
man.
my God! Holy crap! I've been saying this all week to my dad because me and my dad are gonna go to all 3 nights because we have the camper spot there.
Mhm.
So we're going to all 3, like the ARCA, the Xfinity, the
Be a good time.
NASCAR. I've been saying this all week, and everyone. I mean, we were literally just talking about him. I'm going to say Martin Truex are gonna win there.
Not a bad
Yeah,
choice.
yeah,
Not a bad
yeah.
choice.
Everyone will be like, "Ooh, what the hell?" But I'm gonna go Martin Truex for sure.
I'm gonna take a fun pick, not a fun pick, and it goes against all the fibers in my being because I don't like him as a driver. But I'm gonna pick Joey Logano.
Yep.
Ew.
That's
Joey
a good
Logano
pick.
wins everything that is new.
Yep.
The man just does it, and he's due for a win. I know he has struggled all season. My wife, her second favorite driver is unfortunately Joey. I'm well versed on his. Oh God, it's awful.
Come on, Julie.
I know he's got to do better. So I'm well versed with his struggles, but he's good at short tracks and he's good at new tracks. For whatever reason, he seems to adapt quicker than a lot of other guys do. So I'm picking Joey. I hope Kyle
You're-
wins, but picking Joey.
You're Gavin Rogers lover now.
Rev says Chase Elliott.
Hmm.
Fair. And
Pretty.
Carl says
Oh man. You know,
Himself.
I would love, dude, if I had an opportunity to race at the Cup Series at Iowa, trust me, I would be there in a heartbeat.
I would too.
But no, it's you know, it's hard. I would love to pick Martin. I would love to pick Martin. If he had a different crew chief, I would pick Martin. But that being said, I think it's going to be. Oh man, I actually think Richard Childress has a shot. I think Kyle Busch, since Richard's not here, I'm going to carry the mantle here. But Kyle Busch, he is desperate, and honestly, and this is the reason why. Early Rowdy Bush, I didn't like. I didn't. He reminds me, or I should say, Noah Gregson used to remind me, or kind of does remind me of younger Rowdy Bush, and I didn't like it. But right now, Kyle Busch needs to find that inner Rowdy again, and he needs to get it in gear if he wants to bring RCR any kind of success. And I think Iowa's the place to do it since no one else has done it. Kyle Busch.
all right.
That's a good pick. Didn't
Yeah.
Kyle Busch win Gateway last year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good pick. I like it.
Dustin goes Gibbs, and I will hop on that Toyota train. My head is telling me one, my heart's telling me other. I have a $1 bet on Noah Gragson to win, to pay $101. So I'm going to go
Nice.
Noah to win, but realistically, I'm really thinking Denny. Denny Hamlin's going to win this weekend.
Absolutely not.
I could see it.
Absolutely not. I will shun you forever if you
Man,
win.
those Gibbs cars on short tracks this
Shun
season
the
have
non-believer.
been quick. And
They've been brutally fast.
yeah, and especially Denny.
Look out for Christopher Bell. Look out
if
for
he
Hamlin.
can not blow an engine. Well, actually, if all of Gibbs cannot blow an engine right now.
Yeah, it's wild.
Or not run out of fuel.
I don't want to get off on a tangent, but when was the last time we saw an engine fail in the Cup Series?
Yeah, like that
a
explode.
long time.
Years?
Well,
kinda
on,
cool.
on lap one.
It was awesome.
I don't know if they used an old engine or what happened if they didn't prep it right. Because it was something, it had to have been like that. Because with it being
That was
lap
a
one or lap
catastrophic
two,
failure,
like,
too. That wasn't like a boo-boo.
No.
That's something,
it's like,
something
oh,
let loose in that motor.
one of the interns left a spark plug
They
loose.
left a whole wrench in there.
Honestly,
Yeah.
and I think I
Whole
said it in the
wrench.
Discord, that almost looked like a valve spring dropped the valve into the cylinder and blew the cylinder out or something like that. That's what that looked like. That was
It
it wasn't a
whatever
rod or a
it was.
piston, but it looked like upper ends dropped into the cylinder chamber and just blew it up.
Well, and
Sorry for the tangent. But anyway.
No, sorry, real
Gibbs
quick.
cars are a
The
good bet.
teams don't touch the engine, right? The internals are all just made by the manufacturer and they're just shipped to them.
Depends on the manufacturer. Toyota, from what I understand, at least a few years ago, does not let the teams mess with the engine at all. So,
Huh.
that I don't know about Chevy and Ford, but Toyota themselves are all like very hush hush about their engines.
Interesting.
I do have a question for the group, and it's back to Iowa. It's not an off tangent question.
Rich.
How many being okay? How many I almost said how many questions. How many cautions do you think we'll have at Iowa, being a new track that a lot of drivers have not raced at? And pretty sure they repaved it, didn't they?
They repaved
They
half
did
of it.
repave it.
Yes.
They
Okay,
repaved
The bottom two
two
lanes.
and 1,
Okay.
2, 3, and 4.
and the bottom
But
two
it-
lanes is the line you use.
Well, isn't it progressive banking?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it is. Like, they ran out of time repaving
But-
it.
I think what the
Really?
problem's going to be is, even though it's progressive, they repaved the bottom, which is where all the speed's going to be. It's going to be where the best tire wear is at. So I think I don't know. It's going to be interesting because obviously the next gen cars struggle at short tracks to begin with, at least in the current form. But I don't think there's going to be a ton. If I'm doing an over-under, I'm saying under 5 for cause.
For sure.
So taking out stages, I'm saying under 5.
I'll go 3.
I'd be
Okay.
very surprised if it's a caution fest, but you never know. Could be a disaster, which could be fun.
The Iowa Corn 350, is that what it's called?
Yeah, we like our corn.
No, I'm
you
being
were.
serious. Like that when I saw that was the name of the race. The Iowa Corn 350, I almost lost my mind.
What? Why?
I just was not expecting corn to
Corn
be
is
the
my
sponsor.
life.
I mean,
I saw
Corn is
Hendrick
my life.
Motorsports is selling
Yeah.
Hey,
limited edition.
I saw
Corn
those.
is where you get the ethanol, all
And I
right?
actually
That's where
love
you get
Yeah.
your renewable fuels.
Take
renewable.
that, Steven. Iowa
is
is
important.
good.
I'm not hating on corn. It's just funny you usually see a corporate sponsor and not a whole industry. It's like
Also,
the Got Milk 500.
Also, corn makes whiskey, and we know how that goes.
That's true.
Steven.
What's up?
Oh no, that was to you.
Oh, trust
Like,
me.
you said we all.
Anyway, does anybody
Yes.
have any closing remarks?
Just give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors again. Butt Kicker, Leader in Haptics, Sundance Pizza, Ascendance Trucks, and Ideal Lease. Thank you all, and thank you, Carl, Adam, and Mason for joining today in replace of Richard. Richard will be back next week, and we will all be back next Tuesday at Richmond for the BRB is for Lovers 250 at 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday on Extreme Sim TV's YouTube channel. Whew. All right. Well, thank you all very much. Have a good evening, and I will catch y'all later.